what was happening. I did not have a rupture, which was good, because I think I was more on top of it than a normal person would have been, based on my last video, I guess. I essentially went to the A&E last week for what I assumed was gallbladder pain, because my family has a history of gallbladder issues, and it was upper right quadrant pain, but it wasn't my shoulder tip. And because it wasn't my shoulder tip, by the time I got there, they were like, okay, we want to check your bloods for HCG. Now, HCG is the hormone that detects pregnancy. It's produced by the placenta. So if you're pregnant, you will produce it. And if you are losing your pregnancy, it will go down. Like it would consistently go down and then eventually reach zero. Mine was going up. Went in and they said my HCG was measuring around 3,500, 700, something like that. And she was like, yay, that's a lot higher than it was last 2 weeks ago. And I was like, well, that's not doubling, because it needs to double. It should double, or at least raise in such a way that it'll be kind of, it's easy to chart to see the growth. And that growth was not good. So yeah, essentially what happened was the growth was slowing down, but it was still growing, and that was very strange. In a normal pregnancy, it should be around 8,000 for where I was at. And I was doubling maybe 60 to 80% a day, not 100%, which could still be a normal pregnancy, but because I was at 3,000, it means that it wasn't. I would have been, like I said, around 8,000. So at 3,000, I was a bit concerned. I thought maybe I was miscarrying, like maybe it was higher, but it was dropping. And so they sent me home again without a scan. And when I got back, when I got home, I laid in bed and I thought all night, oh crap. And it was the weekend, so no hospitals were really open besides the A&E. So I called them up and I was like, I would like to get another blood test done. Because initially they sent me home without another blood test. They did offer it, but I was a bit frustrated, so I wasn't in the mood, and I went home. So I got another blood test on Monday, which was about 72 hours later, I think, something like that. It was more than 48. And essentially it showed that it had risen to 5,000, which I wanted it to raise, but I didn't want it to raise in such a way that it was going to still be bad. So they were like, this is a sign of an ectopic pregnancy, and they called me an hour after the blood test and they told me the time for a scan, which they said I could come in next week or I could come in like now. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna come now. So I get the scan done and I lay in there. So they did transvaginal, and the first thing they saw was an empty womb. And then they looked to my right side, and my right side was clear. And then I had to bend in all funny kinds of angles. The chair was all bent back. She had the tube in, and it was, and she was like, far on the left, right next to your ovary, is a lump, which is very suspicious. So after that, they acted quite quickly. They put an IV in my arm to start taking some bloods, and they left it in. And they essentially said that, you know, after you reach 3,000 HCG, we are no longer offering you medication to abort your pregnancy. You will now have to have surgery to remove your ovary or your tube, depending on where the baby is. Sometimes the baby's not even in the tube. Sometimes the baby's in your abdomen, and that's a scary thought that I didn't know about until the day of surgery. But it was in the tube. I was there from 2 o'clock until 6 p.m. and at 6 p.m. they did the surgery. They wheeled me in. They put a breathing gas mask on me and just injected me with whatever put me to sleep. And that put me to sleep, and then I woke up and I was really having a bad reaction to the general anesthetic. I was shaking, I was cold. So I spent overnight in the hospital. I was more conscious towards midnight. And to be honest, I don't know. They gave me a lot of paperwork saying, like, do you want to cremate the remains? It will be a joint cremation with the rest of all the miscarriages here and all that. And I was like, I don't know if I feel right with that. Like, mine was a baby, and that does make me sad, but you know, it wasn't a full term baby. You know, it was my tube. It's mostly my tube that they took away. So I felt a bit wrong with that. So I asked them to take it home. And so what they'll do is they'll send it to a lab for testing to make sure they've got an actual ectopic pregnancy, and that's what it is. And that will last for about four weeks or so, and then they will mail it back to me. And yeah, my breakfast was fine. Everyone was nice. The nurses were really good. Now I will talk about the aftercare of an ectopic pregnancy. So here's the part of the video where it starts to get kind of gross, and I'm going to talk to you about the wound and how it works. So they did something called keyhole surgery, which is a very common surgery. They do it for your gallbladder, I think. They do it for appendix. If it ruptures, they will do something more like a cesarean to get it out, because otherwise they might not be able to get all the blood out. But mine didn't rupture. Mine was fine. So they took out my tube and threw out this little teeny tiny hole. And I will show you a picture here. And I have multiple holes there. It is quite painful. It's quite painful to bend, and it's the worst part is it's actually not that bad, but I've had pelvic surgery before, which is maybe one of the risk factors as to why I have an ectopic, because I don't smoke, I'm not above a certain age, and I've never done drugs, I don't drink. They gave me this stuff, which my body hates. It's a lactose solution, lactulose, but it has lactose in it and also galactose or something. Now, I am lactose intolerant, so I don't take this well at all. It's not been great at all to take that, but it's better than being constipated with pelvic surgery. So, also they gave me just, basic stuff. I mean, this is normal ibuprofen. It says maximum strength, but it's just 400 mg, like normal adult ibuprofen. And then they also gave me paracetamol, which is normal paracetamol tablets, just 500 mg, the standard. I need to take an injection a day for blood clots, just in case I have any. I will show you the needle. I'm not going to take it out because I don't have to do it until after I eat dinner, when it's not dinner time yet. So I will show a needle, but I'm not going to actually use one. So they look like these. And essentially you pop it out and use them individually and then put them in a Sharps box. This is a Sharps box, and a Sharps box has to be delivered to a GP. You pop it in there, and then it basically just falls in. You cannot open it. It will not open. It's designed to be a one-way system, and you can't take the top off. You could probably try if you wanted to really hard, but there's no point to it. It's just an injection, and then it's done. And that's like an anticoagulant, so it stops your blood from clotting in the legs after you've had surgery. I had that with my cesarean, and to be honest, I'm not used to it. I don't like it, but I had a lot more with my cesarean. I had to do it for 2 weeks, whereas this I only have to do for about 5 days. So, it's not going to be that bad. My bed is a mess, but I slept amazing on it last night. I did a crap ton of pillows. I have all kinds of pillows that don't match just to prop me up because I cannot lay on my side. So they blow up your abdomen with a carbon dioxide, I think. They blow it up, and then that's just to look around, and it makes it safer. But it does cause excess pain, because now, anytime I'm trying to lay down, the gas in my stomach goes into my ribs, and it goes up into my diaphragm and really irritates my chest. It irritates my breathing, and it causes pain in my shoulders. And anytime I want to lay down, I have to lay on my back straight, and I don't like that at all. I prefer to lay on my side. It's just not comfortable. Also, I can't bend down, and getting up is a kind of a pain. But, I've had a cesarean before, and it's a lot better than that. It's a lot easier. I was up and walking within the first hour or two, despite the general anesthetic making me dizzy. Other than that, it was, you know, for a cakewalk compared to cesarean surgery, but at the same time, it wasn't needed. If I just had a scan, somebody could have found it earlier and I could have had an injection to get rid of the baby. Which sounds horrible, but I mean, they were gonna, it was never gonna be a good pregnancy anyway. Yeah, it was just a lot. So I hope if anyone's watching this and you have to go through the same thing, it's not that bad. It's painful, but it's not that bad. I've had worse. But I would recommend asking for a scan if you think something's wrong. I would definitely say, please watch my first video. If your symptoms are like that, then please go and get a scan. Because sometimes you can have pain in pregnancy and it can be nothing. Or sometimes you can be like me and only have a little bit of bleeding and it can be something. So definitely check. Thank you. They kind of explained as to why I was bleeding. Essentially, they said that my uterus wasn't making enough hormone at first, which was normal for that because it was always slow. And so it thought that I was having a period or a miscarriage. And so it just shed my lining. And that's what the first bleed was. But because the baby wasn't in my uterus and because my HCG was still rising, it will continuously rebuild a lining to match my HCG, despite that there is no baby in there. So they've taken all the gunk out and the baby out and placenta and all that. But because I still have a lining, I will still have to bleed like a miscarriage or like a period. But it isn't going to be continued and counted as a miscarriage.